Fraser, what's the atmosphere like there?
It's a significant day here at the White House, a busy day as well. Not only is the entirety of the world's media here, there's also a lot of people from the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is effectively the beating heart of the White House, the offices of the White House just next door. They are all stood on the steps looking to see the flyover that just took place. There's also people over on the balcony that I can see as well. So a significant day here at the White House. Even for the people who work here, they've all come out to see the pomp and circumstance that the Americans are putting on for the Saudis here. We just saw that gun salute, something which is not very frequently seen here at the White House. And then of course we saw the flyover as well, just above our heads moments ago as well. So a lot on the line here, and Donald Trump is pulling out the big guns quite literally.
What are you hearing? Is there expected to be much discussion about issues like investment in Gaza further down the line once it has been stabilized? Are you hearing much about Saudi involvement in a stabilization force? Or is this really much more about commercial and defense ties between Saudi Arabia and the United States?
Well, of course, the Saudis have signed on to Donald Trump's peace plan for the Middle East. They are largely being seen, along with Qatar and others, they are seen as the backbone of this kind of regeneration project that will be taking place in Gaza. But of course, the Saudis also have their own thoughts on the issue, and they want to see a Palestinian state. So there is still a little bit of ground. But of course, Donald Trump is calling for the Gaza Strip to be entirely redone, and the Saudis are going to be a key part of that. One thing that I am hearing from sources is that we are not expecting Saudi Arabia to sign on to the Abraham Accords, which is of course the normalization of ties with Israel that various Arab countries have undertaken in the last couple of years during the first term of Donald Trump and since. Saudi has basically kind of been seen as the kind of golden goose of those agreements, but they are not expected to sign on to those agreements today. It will much more focus around the economy and around economic ties between the two countries. Of course, we saw a significant investment announcement when Donald Trump was in Saudi Arabia in May, $600 billion, touted as the largest ever pact between two countries. And that is going to span a whole host of things, from critical minerals to technology, AI to energy. There's also Saudi Arabia's civilian nuclear power that they want to discuss as well. But of course, Gaza will definitely be coming up here. And of course, the Trump administration sees the Saudis as a key ally and key player in the region and is trying to get them on side. It's believed that's why he announced the sale of those F-35 fighter jets to the Saudis as well, which are seen as the most advanced fighter jets in the world. That, though, has worried some Israeli officials. Of course, there is a U.S. law which effectively gives the Israelis the military edge in the region over other countries, and some Israeli officials are worried that the sale of those fighter jets to the Saudis will degrade that edge.
On that subject of the F-35s, there is also, I think, some concern that because Saudi Arabia has in the past done some joint exercises with the Chinese, there's some concern that the Chinese might somehow have access to highly prized American military technology. How does Trump plan to get around that with this sale?
Well, of course, I'm not, being read into the actual the terminology of the deal that is going to be going forward between the Saudis and the Americans. But Donald Trump, of course, is worried about the competition from China. That's part of the reason that there's such a heightened worry around the Chips and Sciences Act that was passed under the previous administration, and the flow of chips from places like Taiwan, for example. The Chinese, of course, trying to make themselves a bigger player in that sector, but the US trying to maintain its dominance in that field. So there is certainly worry from the Trump administration about that. But I think Donald Trump really here is thinking more in the short term and thinking about what kind of benefits he can get from the Saudis and what it would take to get that benefit as well that he's needed. So a lot's going to be given to and from both sides here, but the sale of those F-35s to the Saudis is a significant boost to their military presence, and again, something which is going to worry some in the region, including Israel.
Fraser, you're hanging out with journalists there while you're waiting. Have you talked to many of them? Have any of them said they plan to ask MBS about the Khashoggi affair? You know, and if they do,
well,
how would
the
it be
pool
fielded?
is separate from us at the moment. They're going to be, the pool is currently, gathering to get into the Oval Office. So the actual journalists that are going to be in the room with Donald Trump and MBS have not been with us for the last short while. But as I'm speaking more broadly as a member of the White House Foreign Press Group, I will say that we try to ask salient questions that are important and are newsworthy. So I'm sure that there will be some journalists in the room who are wanting to ask that. That is obviously a very thorny issue and obviously something which is very close to a lot of journalists' hearts as well. So I imagine that will certainly be raised. Whether it is how it's handled, if it does come up, is going to be something worth watching as well. Of course, Donald Trump has kind of not broached that issue in the course of his communications through the White House in the last few weeks and months, but certainly something that the journalists will probably want to bring up in the Oval Office.
What do we know about the personal relationship between Trump and MBS, and indeed members of the Trump family, I think, who, they have a lot of business connections with various developers in Saudi Arabia. How close is the Trump family connection with key people in Saudi Arabia?
Well, Donald Trump will, of course, say that he is not a part of the Trump organization anymore, that his business has been vested off to his sons. But, of course, there is a significant amount of dealings between the Saudis and Saudi-owned companies, some of which have very close ties to the government and the Trump organization. There's various towers in Jeddah and the like, which are going to be, brandishing the Trump name. And just on the eve of this visit from MBS, there was an announcement that there's going to be a luxury hotel built in the Maldives as a joint venture between the Trump organization and also a Saudi real estate company, the kind of senior branch of which is also closely tied to the Saudi Arabian government. And that hotel is going to be having a more cryptocurrency-based funding structure, which will basically allow people to kind of buy shares, as it were, in the hotel, which will help fund the building of this project. But of course, there is still, some concern from people that there is too close a tie here between the Saudis and the American president's business dealings, albeit dealings that he says are not tied to him anymore, but rather to his family instead.
OK, Fraser, thanks very much. We'll have to leave it there. Thanks ever so much for that really valuable context. The weather looks good there. I hope the rest of it goes well for you. Fraser Jackson there, our man in Washington at the White House today for that visit. Mohammed bin Salman and Donald Trump.